Hi, I'm Reverend Paula Skiles with Unity Church of San Marcos. Vern McClellan said, "What the new year brings to you will depend a great deal on what you bring to the new year." Some time ago, Reader's Digest had an article in this story about a warehouse that was being remodeled, and there was a welder who asked an electrician, can you set me up a temporary outlet? And the electrician said, "No, man, I'm too busy, but I can walk you through it if you want me to." And the welder agreed, and so the a few moments later, after he'd kind of given him some ideas, the welder says, "What color is the ground wire?" And the electrician responded, "It's white." So a few seconds passed, and the welder had put together the ground wire, and everything was doing whatever he needed to do. And all of a sudden there was this explosion, and the electrician said, "Unless there's a green wire." So I thought of that, how I have lived my life sometimes, where responding to these explosions. I don't know about you, but I hope you can relate to this, because it's like, you go along doing something and all of a sudden there's this big thing and it's chaos and it blows up and you have to deal with it, and you think, "Oh my gosh, I should go in the other direction." And it just sort of ping-pongs. So I feel kind of like this is what's happening with COVID, is it's like a minefield sometimes. You go along and then there's these COVID exposure explosions, and then you have to deal with it, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and you run your life this way and that. And each of us, I think, is looking at ways that we can each move forward in our lives right now and move beyond the being at home and stuck and not being able to do anything. And I relate in other ways too. It reminded me of the times when I tried to move forward without enough of information, and I didn't have my soul wasn't grounded. Even though I had good intentions, things didn't work out very well sometimes. Grounding Our Souls is the title of this message, and it's about how you and I can ground our souls and spirit in order to be able to create a more intentional way of living our lives and having it be one that is more fulfilling. I don't know about you, but have you ever felt like, I'm really, 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 really over all of this, whatever doesn't kill me makes me stronger stuff, and I don't want to go through it anymore? So in 2007, the Washington Post organized a social experiment in the D.C. Metro station. It was on a cold January morning, early, and 2007, and a man with a violin played 6 Bach pieces for about 45 minutes. And during that time, approximately 2,000 people went through the station. And after about 4 minutes, a young man leaned against the wall and began to listen, looked at his watch, and hurried on. And at 6 minutes, a woman came through and put in some money, and he received his first dollar, and but she just kept on going. Shortly at that, another person came and noticed and stood against the wall for a few more minutes and then left. At 10 minutes, a little 3-year-old boy happened to notice the young violinist and just wanted to stop, but his mother just pushes him forward, makes him go, and he kept turning his head and trying to listen. And this happened with all the children, as a matter of fact, that were gone through. Each one of them stopped to try and listen, but the parents, without exception, just pushed their children on through and said, "Let's go, we got to do this." But they kept turning and wanting to be able to hear it. And this musician played continuously, like I said, for about 45 minutes. Only 6 people stopped for a short period of time and listened, and then about 20 of them gave money, moving on their way, but continued to walk on, and the man collected a total of $32. Now, what is important about this experiment is this man was Joshua Bell, one of the foremost violinists, musicians in the country. And he had played these intricate pieces the night before to a sold-out audience in Boston for $100 a seat, playing these same pieces. Now, what this story tells me is that there is an incredible need in our society for people to ground our souls. We need to be grounding our souls. What do you think would be your response to this situation in a commonplace environment in an appropriate hour? Do you perceive beauty? Do you stop and smell the roses, so to speak? If so, do you appreciate it and allow it to nurture you and take enough time for it to come in and feed your soul? Do you take inspiration in love, in unexpected circumstances or context? You're going to work. Do you allow yourself to nurture and feel that sense? Granted, you may not be into classical music, but consider, if we do not have a few moments or a few minutes to sit and listen to a really talented musician who and this is playing music that just is so moving on a violin that is exquisite. What else could you and I be missing as we rush through our lives? Things that could quicken our thoughts or inspire us or move us into an experience of life that is so rich and so full of the things that we are seeking in that moment. Because ultimately, this is why grounding our souls is so necessary and is truly an essential part of the development of you and I maturing as a human and humane being. In grounding our souls, we get to experience a sense of the strength, the beauty, courage, love, hope, wonder, all of these things that we need in order to live more fulfilling lives. And I love this Facebook reminder from Elizabeth Gilbert. She was stuck on a crosstown traffic bus, and there were a lot of other people on there with her, and this woman got on, and the traffic was barely moving, and the bus was filled with cold, tired people who were aggravated with one another and with the world in general. And you could tell 2 men were barking at each other over someone's perceived shove, or maybe it was or didn't happen. But the thing is, this pregnant woman got on, and no one offered her a seat. No one offered to move, and there was just this animosity and a sense of rage was in the air. And shortly, she says that the bus driver came on the intercom and he says, "Folks, I can't do anything about the traffic or the weather." He says, "But here's what I can do. As each one of you gets off the bus, I will reach out my hand to you." And he says, "As you walk by, drop your troubles into the palm of my hand. Don't take them home with you, and don't take them home to your family and your friends. Just leave them with me, and whenever I get to the Hudson River, I will drop them in for you." Now, it was as if a spell had lifted, and everyone burst out laughing, and faces all of a sudden gleamed with surprised delight, and people started to look into each other's faces again, going, "Is this guy serious?" Oh, he was serious. So at the next stop, just as the bus driver said, he reached out his hand, palm up, and waited. And one by one, all the exiting commuters placed their hand above his and mimed that dropping something into it. Now, some people laughed as they did this, and some people's eyes teared up. This, to me, is a wonder. In the Bible, the word teros is Greek, and it means something that evokes wonder, astonishment, amazement in the beholder, and wonders that make us catch our breath or drop our jaws are grounding our souls in awe, in spirit, in love, in inspiration, in nourishment. And so this driver repeated this same wonderful ritual for every person who got off at every stop from there on to the river. You and I live in a world of burdens. No one comes into this world that doesn't have at least one. And we all have something. And sometimes it's extra difficult to be a humane being. We have bad days, and sometimes our bad days last several years. And inevitably, some of us will struggle and fail. We will lose friends, or we will lose loved ones, or we will lose a job, or we don't have enough money, or, our faith we have none after all the things that have occurred in our lives. Or we've just become fearful and withdrawn. And so many of the people I know in my life, I see it everywhere. I know you do too. And so they watch the news, or we watch the news, and see these horrific events. And we're told about things, and we become even more fearful and more withdrawn. Perhaps you and I may even long for what it is possible, something different, hope for something to make a shift, to make a change. But what if you and I become that light? What if you and I are the light that is needed? What if you are the agent of illumination that a chaotic situation begs for? What this bus driver is doing is not because he's some multi-savvy human being, He's not a rich person. He's not a spiritual leader. He's just a human being humane. And I know that sometimes my life can feel pretty grim. I mean, we all have those moments. And particularly in those moments, we will feel powerless. With all of the world's troubles right now that we have, I invite you to think of this man and ask yourself, what can I do right now to be of the light, to resonate with the wisdom, or to resonate with strength, or to vibrate into a new level of being, my being, the fullness of my being. Now, you and I can't personally end all wars, or solve global warming by ourselves, or transform vexing people into entirely different people. And I know none of us can control traffic, or any of the other things like weather, but let's think about this. What do we have? We have the ability to influence even those strangers who are around us. Elizabeth Gilbert concluded with this thought: no matter what you are, no matter who you are, or where you are, or how mundane or tough your situation may seem, I believe you can illuminate your world. In fact, I believe this is the only way the world will ever be illuminated, one bright act of grace at a time, all the way to the river. At the beginning of this year, I saw this cartoon where two characters, one is looking into the distance, very terrified, and the other is peaceful, bent over a planter. And the terrified character says, "Aren't you terrified of what 2022 could be like? Everything is so messed up." And the peaceful character responded, "It will bring flowers. I think it will bring flowers." A little confused, the terrified character says, "Yes? Why?" "Because I'm planting flowers," says the other. Did you know that soil is an antidepressant? The smell of Mycobacterium vaccae is a microorganism found in soil, compost, and leaf mold. Lights up neurotransmitters that release serotonin in the brain. It's a mood-lifting hormone. You and I can do grounding exercises, whether we take a few minutes or 30 to 40 minutes, which is really better if we can do that, to bring ourselves into resonance with Spirit. Whether it's taking only a few short breaths, holding them and releasing them, or taking a longer time of meditation. There are so many things we can do. Grounding our souls is toes in the sand, fingers in the soil, breath taken in awe as we look at all that is around us. The innocence of a baby, a newborn. Listening for the sizzle of the sunset, or dancing in the flow of music. You and I can vibrate in the presence. You and I can resonate to the Spirit that is possible for you and I to experience. Here are some final thoughts as I think about this time, this message. It's easy to trust God in the easy moments, the happy moments of our lives. Yet it is crucial to our maturation of our soul that you and I trust God and learn to trust God in spirit in the difficult times. Anne Morrow Lindbergh once said, "Don't wish me happiness. I don't expect to be happy all the time. Wish me courage and strength and a sense of humor. I will need them all." The last couple of years have caused so many of us, our loved ones and friends, and we've suffered in grief and sorrow and desolation. And I know that many of us have gone quite through our sense of humor all the way out. So I pray that this year is something you can make different and is more fulfilling. So if you would affirm with me this statement: I'm about to live into a very successful and soul-nourishing year of my life, grounding my soul. And I'll repeat that. I'm about to live into a very successful and soul-nourishing year of my life, grounding my soul. And that is my prayer, and may you be strong and brave in the love of God, grounding our souls. God bless you.